Ladies and gentlemen, Two Dudes Talk Music in conjunction with E. Brown Industries and Big Jerry Burger brings to you everybody's new favourite game show, Get in the Bin. Now, let's go to our host, Reverend Raph and the beer buddy, Kyle. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everybody. I am the Reverend Raph, joined once again by my good friend Kyle, aka the beer buddy.
What's going on, everybody?
We are the Two Dudes Who Talk Music, and we are back today on your Sunday evenings with our mates in T-Rex Autopsy. We got Craig, Ross, and Jacko. Now, look, Ross, I know you've done this one before when you were on last time, but I'm sure you got more things you want to talk about. So basically,
always,
this is Get in the Bin, where we ask our guests if you could change things about the music business, what would they be and why? Let's assume you've got, phenomenal cosmic powers and you can just snap your fingers and make these things happen. We'll get two from each of you. Whoever wants to go first. What is the first thing you would change about the music business and why?
I would change... Fuck, I don't even know where to begin because I'm an ignorant cunt. I would change the whole... I'd like us to go back to a kind of that era where you had a lot of producers who were ex-musicians or musicians themselves that hadn't quite necessarily succeeded as musicians, and that they were very passionate about, they had an understanding of music and production, and then what could be commercially viable as well. But then they were willing to then take risks with artists, and then allow a band to grow. So like Slayer's first record sucks. Compared to where they got, nobody would have signed that, like we're expected today to, your first record is the best thing ever from an industry perspective of then if you've got backing behind you. And I'd also get rid of the whole way that they operate on that whole, I guess you could call it a debt trap, where they throw you money and then you just, I understand as well that it's entertainment and they need to make money off the art, but that side of it seems to be, just the fact that it seems like there's only like 4 producers out there and everybody's copying the same 4 producers, and that's the current contemporary pop chart music, seems to be detrimental for what could be interesting in pop-based chart music.
It's interesting you talk about the debt trap, because I remember reading an article this years ago. And North Lane were touring, and they were touring overseas, but they weren't quite the headline acts yet. So they were sort of just tiptoeing around as some main supports and stuff like that. So they were playing in Canada, and their label bought them like 30 grand's worth of merch to try and get rid of. And they're like, dudes, we're not even fucking headlining. Let's be reasonable here. And they're like, nah, this is what, and then mate, they got back from the tour and then they got sent a bill for the fucking difference.
Damn.
And they're just like, mate, we told you not to fucking do this. Like
I think I remember reading that article.
Yeah, like we physically told you not to do this. And it was this whole trap, this loop that they were caught in, that they'd go overseas and then they'd come home and then they'd be handed a bill. And then the next thing you know, they're working full time to try and get money again to pay off that. And then get
the thing to remember is though, right? Anytime, and granted, contracts can be varied and specific to specific cases, but the vast majority of the time, if there's a label if the label's fronting money, that's not a loan, that's an advance. And I know there's technically they sound the same, and a lot of time they're used interchangeably, but they are different. The key difference being, if a label is splashing you a ton of money to make your album, then you're not personally liable for that money.
Gotcha.
It can be it's to be recouped from related things. So like recouped from merch sales on tour, or if it's merch from that, or like sales of the album, revenue from streams, all that kind of stuff. It's recouped, not repaid. Again, very similar sounding terminology, slightly different things. But for the most part, you can't be held personally liable for it, unless it's maybe there's a case of like negligence, or you intentionally tanking things so that you're not, you're not fulfilling your obligations. So then they might take legal action, and that's a whole different story. But generally, the contract is it's recouped from, related sales and activities and stuff like that rather than a personal loan. But you're right, it is a trap that people can get caught in because they'll get an advance and they'll go, oh great, I'll spend all of it. And it's like, no, Hank, don't fucking spend all of it if you don't have to.
Yeah.
And there's some, I think there's a case that has been made before where artists like Taylor Swift or whatever, where she owned very little of the rights to whatever her early recordings. So then she went back into the studio and re-recorded them.
Yes.
And then puts those out as the main releases, so then she can recoup more money back.
Yes. So that's it, and it's
they own the
that's
masters.
that's ownership of her masters and everything.
Yeah,
and
that stuff's so bizarre to me.
And
Well,
that's it.
there's
Look,
the
smart move
case
on her part. Smart move on her part. And given how dedicated a lot of her fan base is, releasing them and having them as Taylor's version and being like, guys, listen to this version, not
not
the
that
other
version.
So
And
Well,
now
the
she's
case,
exceeded her
Beatles.
fucking her playlist now has exceeded anything on what, do you know what I mean? She's pumped out that much music.
Mhm.
I wonder what percentage of her music now would be the stuff that the label still owns and the stuff that she permanently owns. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
at what point, what album did it stop?
Yeah.
I mean, someone could say something snarky about how she rewrites the same song over and over again with the same chord progressions on the same album. They're just in a different key.
Someone
but I
could
didn't say
certainly
that.
say that.
Someone else could have said
Someone
that.
could certainly say that. Sorry, Ross, you were trying to say something there.
Yeah, it's like such a like that issue stems from such an early piece in time where, you know, the Beatles, they signed a contract that they just didn't even know, right? Like they didn't have that legal facade that was able to then help and support them on what they signed. You know, they were like $50,000 or £50,000, like hectic. And you
Back
go
then
further,
too.
yeah, and you go
A lot of money.
further into then the history of it, and you've got Paul McCartney working with Michael Jackson, talking about him trying to buy back their music for Michael Jackson to swoop in and then just go, hee hee, I bought all your music. Like, that's crazy. Like that thought process that another artist could just come in because he's got money to spend and take the entire Beatles estate of ownership of their music.
Supposedly that wasn't the only artist he's done to. Supposedly, I've heard stories that Michael Jackson was an absolute gangster, and if you pissed him off, that is what he'd do. He'd just go to your number one song and just buy the fucking master. Wouldn't even say nothing to you. He's just that cashed up.
This is the thing, though.
Bitch.
But getting back to the original point, like, just make sure you read your fucking contracts before you sign them, man. Get legal advice.
Get legal help.
It's
Get legal
expensive,
advice.
but it's more expensive not to.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you don't want to end up like John Fogerty in Creedence Clearwater Revival, where
Yeah. All right. What's who wants to go next? Who's
Jacko?
Jacko, you go, mate.
What do you hate? What do you want in the bin?
I think the music industry in the modern times, it's more of a business than it is art.
Yeah.
And you know, things like Napster and Spotify have
I hate to tell you, kid. It's always been a fucking business.
Yeah, it's always been a business, but nowadays it's like a lot harder to make any sort of money from, you know, being a small artist. Like, you know, with the streams on Spotify, you know, like at the end of the day, if they were to pay smaller bands, you know, proper money, they just sink as a business. Which
Their
is
business is
you
built
know
off
the shit thing
of other people, and they do nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
They do precisely none of the work and get all of the rewards. Burn it fucking down.
Yeah, that's I think all I have to say about that. I reckon.
No, it's all right. We talk about this endlessly, fucking on the channel. So I don't want to go in our same rant all over again.
It's a weird thing, man. It's like one thing that spins me out. You have a look on there. It's like a band. I'll look it up now so I can actually get some fucking real numbers and say something.
Maybe your microphone closer, Kyle.
Yep. Sorry, I'll have a look at this. Okay, so T-Rex, one of your highest played song has been played 3,868 times. Now, even if you sold your whole EPs for $1 each, you'd be better off than any of those amount of plays. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the painful part. And it's like, it just devalues everything that you fucking do.
Since we last spoke, my running joke now is that we're a clothing business.
Yep, bands are a clothing business that uses their music for advertising.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
But I think
Pretty much. It's
yeah,
sad.
Oh,
we
that hit
It's
this
it's a
track.
bit sad. It's a bit sad.
we've
That hit
spoken
right.
Used to be the
stuff.
Mm.
And but I think there's and we spoke a lot about this too, but I think that artists that are coming over here that are international, these artists that we're bringing over, and we're starting to see it now. Like
you want them in the bin.
Testament. No, I don't want them in the bin. I want their support. I don't
We're
want to
gonna
chuck
fuck.
this in the bin. I want them to take on board these up and coming bands that have worked for 7, 8 years. You know, you said it earlier when we spoke, where a band that broke through got that was a new artist award and the breakthrough artist award.
Mm.
Craig and I were talking about this a couple of months ago, where it's like it takes 7 to 8 years, 7 to 10 years to be
Usually.
just
Yep.
moderately on the map, because then people start seeing what it is. So all well and good bringing over these other artists and bringing in dual international acts, but go to grassroots bands, go to grassroots metal bands, and put them on. Snake Mountain are now opening for Testament.
Hell
Fucking
yeah, brother.
awesome, right? Like they've now,
Congratulations.
we're starting to see it, which is like awesome. But also, when you do it, make sure you give them some fucking money, so then that way they can go off and they can run their own tour. Like give them, give them a bit,
It's
give them
been
something.
they're starting. We're starting to see it a bit more. I know they're pushing for. Well, I can't remember what the law's called, but the rule or whatever it is that they're trying to do. But that's becoming a bit more of a thing again. So hopefully that becomes the norm, and we do see more of that.
It used to be.
I know
Yeah.
it used to be, absolutely. It used to be the norm, and then it kind of went away. And people will tell you it's because the talent wasn't there. That's bullshit. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Talent's
That
always
is bullshit.
the talent's always fucking been there. They just didn't want to
The
bother
talent is there, but
looking
when
for it.
it's so hard for the talent to actually, for anybody to get any artist, aspiring artist at a grassroots level to actually get good enough to open for a really, really prestigious, excellent touring
Bullshit. I've done it
international
multiple
act.
times. You don't have to be that fucking good.
No, what I'm saying,
That's bullshit. You got.
but I'm saying when you don't have the capacity to go out there and learn your craft, when it's so expensive, insurances premiums are so expensive. When venues get shut down because people move next door and then complain about the noise because they moved next door to the equivalent of a fucking airport.
Yeah.
You move next door to the Hope Town or whatever. It's like, come on. It's harder to then. I don't disagree with you. The talent is there, but it's harder for the talent to be then more talented. I guess you could say.
The reps. Getting the reps is
Because
the
there's no this concept of mid-sized venues.
There is none.
Because you're either in a small pub
gone.
or you're in a fucking big place. There's none of this like just comfortable 120. You know what I mean? You're either in 100 or you're in a 500. And then you're in bigger than that. Like this.
Kyle, the 500s to the thousands are the mid-size.
No, I'm talking like 250s, like just in between the 250 and 500s. Those ones, just where you can make enough noise where you can just get noticed a bit.
It's tough. Yeah,
But
the venues, the lack of venues has impacted the ability to get reps, I think, and it's where taking advantage of what you can get while you can get it is worthwhile. It's why I think too many bands do the whole too many bands go to the whole artificial scarcity phase way too soon. You know, like the idea of if we play too much, then people won't come out and see us because they'll always say, "Oh, there's next time." I'm like, yeah, but you have to be playing for years for that to happen. Like, you need to get out there and you need to spend at least a year and a half, 2 years playing every fucking gig you can, trying to play, as frequently as you can to get out there. And I'm not saying that means you need to play gigs for free or take shit gigs or not respect your own effort. But if you're a new band, a new young band, like if you're a band that's got credit, the connections and credibility, and you've got pedigree, and you've got, history in other bands and all this kind of stuff, and you're, you're already a known quantity, that's different. That's a different story. But if you're a new band, new young band that's coming up, fucking get out there and play. Try and play fucking, 25, 30, 40 gigs in a fucking year if you can.
And go make all your mistakes while you're doing that.
Do that, and you will get yourself in front of a lot of people like that. And then after you've been doing that for a couple of years and you're starting to get that momentum, then you can be like, all right, cool. now we can start to be a bit more picky about what we play. Yeah.
Something that I read recently,
Good
and
advice.
the thing that I chuck in the bin is the treatment of artists from a council perspective. And I signed the petition for this the other day. That an artist, a acoustic artist, was unloading their vehicle in a loading zone, and then got slapped with a $480 fine, which was more than 90% of what their paid show was going to be. And when you look at a place like Newtown, right, and you look at inner city CBD, right, if we were to want to go and play at Mary's Underground, we would have to go and park in an underground car park that charges you $38 a fucking hour. That's fucking absurd. Let alone you cannot park out the front of that because the loading zone dictates that you have to be in a ute or you have to be in a heavy vehicle, and that's the jurisdiction for it. So if you're trying to unload a drum kit out of a Toyota Camry, like Jacko is going to have to do, he's not going to be able to afford the fine, or he's going to pay $38 for that first hour to be able to get his gear into the venue. So, like, what are venues doing to be able to help? Well, there's not much that you can do when you've got inner city, like that's so on top of each other.
Mm.
What are you doing from a perspective of being able to make sure that artists have an affordability to be able to then park and pay for where they're playing? Try and travel around Newtown searching for a parking spot for 45 minutes at a given time. Give us infrastructure in these hub spots that are the locations that are allowing for artists to be able to play. And then don't fucking yell at people when they say there's no nightlife, because you're not giving us the opportunity to be able to have a nightlife. So fuck that shit and put it in the fucking bin.
I agree. I just saw on
100%.
the news. I just saw on the news today that Sydney City Council has finally turned around to all the NIMBYs and gone, if you don't like noise, move to the fucking suburbs.
Good.
We are
Yes.
not taking your complaints
Yes, I
anymore.
did see there
We
was
are
a
not
venue
dealing with that
was
shit.
that won a case about that.
Yep.
And they're basically finally, common sense seems to have prevailed there, and hopefully that sets a precedent as well. Hopefully that's a legal precedent, and venues can now go, all right, well look, this venue's been here as a venue for decades, and you want to move into near where the venue is, and then complain that there's noise from the venue. People move to these areas because there's nightlife, and there's they say they
What the
move to the
fuck is
areas
nightlife here? I fucking hate it.
that
Yeah.
they move to the
Don't be
areas where they say
surprised.
there's nightlife, and then they don't want to deal with a bit of noise that comes with nightlife.
What happened to the Annandale Hotel? That place was, live music for such a long time with
Yeah.
Aussie great musicians that played through there, and that place, like 2016, I think it was, died. And now there's a little bit of resurgence for it, but the only reason why it's picked up is
It's
because
not
of
what it
COVID.
was.
It's not the
It's not what it
same.
used to be.
Mm.
No.
It's
Pretty sure I saw Periphery there one night years ago when they first started.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And that's the thing, and I fully understand that venues do have steps that they need to take to appropriately handle and mitigate potential issues, right? Like there was a venue in Fortitude Valley up here that is like, the venue is basically in the ground level of this building, and there's like apartments kind of above it, but it's Fortitude Valley. It's like the entertainment fucking district of of the kind of city. And it's a gig that I was at, I think it might have been when I was playing at, this dude came down and was like getting in the face of the people on the door over the noise issue. And at the time, we were all sort of, everyone playing the gig was a bit like, fucking, it's Fortitude Valley, mate. Like, calm your fucking farm. We did later find out that the venue hadn't apparently done some of the soundproofing they were supposed to have done, and there was a decibel limit that they were supposed to be adhering to, which they weren't. So in that kind of scenario, cool. I can understand why someone would be a little, unhappy about that. But there's ways to approach it, and this guy came in really hot without trying to be reasonable about it at all. But when there's also, but this is what I mean. Like, I know there's things on both sides of it in that way, and I'm not trying to both sides the whole issue, right? Like, if the venue's there and you move to an area that has venues, you need to know there's going to be noise. That's a
But
fact that you have to
you're right
accept.
though. Firstly, if the venue doesn't actually, there's a venue in Penrith that had the bands playing outdoors, and then they were over their decibel
Yeah.
whatever limit rating was, but there were apartments less than 20 meters away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
see, that's just
It's like, come on, what are you doing? You've got a live drum kit here, you've got amps and quads, and then you're cranking it up really loud, and it's 10 o'clock at night. People are going to get the shits when you've made zero effort to mitigate the fact that sound travels.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you're in an open space right next to people's homes. I mean, there's obviously there are two sides, but I've always
when
just
it's a
been a little
venue-
bit miffed at people who
Yeah, but when it's
Move
a
next
venue
door to
that's when it's a venue that's been there trading and operating responsibly for decades, and people want to move
Correct.
in and then try and go, oh, but it's too much noise, it's too noisy, and I'm like,
Yes,
and look, the other thing is, I will say, punters bear a little bit for this too,
100%.
because it's not always just the music from the venue; it's the people that are attending the shows, leaving
Walking
the shows
home.
afterwards. Like, if you're attending
Correct.
these shows, you have to be responsible when you're leaving them, and
Mm.
not
Mm.
be fucking disruptive and break people's shit as you're walking back to your car, or
Absolutely.
like whatever. Like, you've got to. Punters bear a degree of responsibility too in that regard, and so it's a complex picture. But I 100% agree. Like, I am so happy to see that the councils and the courts are starting to go, this venue was here first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not, if you didn't research the area properly, that's not the venue's fucking fault.
Yeah.
Don't move in next to a train line and then complain that the train's going off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
Well, I don't know.
no, get rid of the train. It's making too much fucking noise.
I don't know who's
It's
done
probably
how
the
many
reason
or
why
whatever.
trains
Does
don't run
anyone
24 hours a day?
does anyone have a last one that they want to do
Yeah.
before we wrap this up? I've kind of it's got a bit
I'm sure we'll
nebulous.
have more another day.
I've kind of
Yeah.
lost track of what's what.
Who cares? It was a good rant. Good rant. Get it all off your chest.
Good rants. So, all right. Well, look, thank you so much, guys. This has been a pleasure. By the time this video comes out, I will have met you guys in person and seen you guys at Nowhere Fest. So, great show. I'll say it in advance because I know it's fucking going to be.
It's going to be
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Jacko absolutely killed it.
I fucked up. I fucked up, man.
No, you didn't.
But yeah, look, always fun chatting with you guys. Like, it's the best. Keep us updated when the album comes out, because I cannot fucking wait to hear it. Like we said, we will have links down to everything that T-Rex Autopsy's got going on in the description. So please make sure you go and check those out, and you can keep on top of everything that's going on, because they're playing a fuckload of gigs. So they're going to be playing near you, I'm sure. And there's going to be lots of cool shit to check out. So big thank you to Craig, Ross, and Jacko from T-Rex Autopsy. Big thank you to my co-host, Kyle.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you so much to everybody who's watched
Thanks,
the video
guys.
thus far. If you enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, we are the Two Dudes Who Talk Music, along with T-Rex Autopsy. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself and your mates. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace.
A
See
big
you
thank
later.
you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We really hope you had a good time. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell down there. It helps the channel grow. We are still a fairly young channel, and we like to try and grow our audience all over the world. We do also, for those of you who are interested, have a Patreon. It's just a couple of bucks a month. At the moment, you get all the videos early and ad-free, but we are working on ways to increase the value of that and make it a bit more enticing. So don't forget to keep an eye out and check back on what's going on over there. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.